Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're going to be debunking Phil's, basically his stupid claims yesterday that he made about Fightcade. Now, Phil has plans, because Street Fighter 6, he's reached that skill ceiling where he can't compete in Master. Basically, like, what's happened to him with all the other characters he's played. With Dalsum and everything, he's basically stuck now. He can't go any further. Of course, he's making up all excuses that there's everybody in Master now lags, like, which isn't true. He's blaming Capcom, he's blaming the netcode when it's just Phil. Okay, I'm not going to debunk that because it's been debunked. I've done that before. Phil's setup is really bad, so the internet's really slow, so it's a Phil issue, right? Now, Phil has alluded to the fact that he's going to play Fightcade now, right? He's got the mini PC, he's going to install it. But Phil made claims that it's very difficult to install. It's not. We're going to go through the video here. We're going to listen to what Phil has to say, and then we're going to actually install Fightcade. We're going to go through all the settings. We're going to get it all set up and show you how easy it actually is. And Phil's plus, he's looking for a guide. Now, do I think Phil is going to go through with this? I don't think so once he realizes what Fightcade truly is. It's not going to work for Phil's content in my eyes because, well, you'll see when we get to it. So let's just take a listen to what Phil had to say.
Here's the other thing, and this is kind of the silver lining in this cloud, okay? This doesn't mean it's the end of fighting games. There's two awesome things coming up that we can do. Number one, I have a mini PC. And on that mini PC, I can install something called Fightcade. That's something you guys asked me to do for ages, and I kept telling you I can't do it on my current PC. My PC can capture and stream, and that's about it. If I tried to run an application on there, it would make everything lag up.
Now, that's false. Like, again, I know I plug this a lot. The Phil Jin PC build. That PC, again, is the same generation as Phil's system, Intel 4th Gen. Except Phil is using Extreme Edition processor with 6 cores and 12 threads, where the PC that I built only has 2 cores and 4 threads. And I was able to stream, record, and play Fightcade all on the same PC, no problem. Emulation doesn't require a lot of horsepower to do, depending on what you're emulating. If you're emulating games from like the 80s and 90s, yeah, it is not going to be huge on resources. So it's really not going to affect your system. Phil's been able to do this for a long time. He avoids it because he's going to get his ass kicked when he gets into Fightcade, right? Like, no doubt about it. Anybody that hears that Phil's going to be playing on Fightcade, they're all going to rush to Fightcade. It's free. You're going to have all the old guard come back. They're going to be stomping on Phil. They're going to make him look like shit. And Phil's going to be running scared. And again, we'll get into that here shortly.
But I have a mini PC now, okay? And that mini PC could run Fightcade. And Fightcade is a retro emulation program that allows you to have online matchmaking and competitive play with fighting games. For example, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Capcom vs. SNK 2, all of the old versus games that I love, like X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom 1, all the games that I played back in the day and absolutely loved playing, and there has not been any good viable versions of these games on console for many, many, many years. I've tried playing them all. Capcom 30th Anniversary Collection, Capcom Fighting Collection. They all suck. Okay? This essentially is the best.
Now, they don't really suck. It's just because Phil's an average player at fighting games, right? Phil likes to think that he's some kind of massive champion, pro player, and everything like that, when in reality, Phil was just a middler, right? He used to hang with the crowd as they were coming up back in the day, but he was never at that high-end level. He was always around that average level. And you can see that with Phil's CFN on his Street Fighter 6. He's in the low 50s. And when you combine both his Xbox and his PlayStation playthroughs, he's in the low 50s in all his characters, except for, like, I think E Honda on the PS5, and he gave up on that as soon as he hit Master because he didn't want to lose ranks on that. And then his Blanca really dropped off once he hit Master. He reached master at like I think something like 77%, and then dropped all the way down to the low 60s, and then stopped playing with Blanca because he didn't want to drop any lower. So Phil's just an average player, and on those console things, like Phil would run like people like Goji Tanks and Jose. Remember those old time players? They would make Phil look like a fucking idiot, and Phil got to the point where Phil just blocked them and banned them every single time, ran away from them every single time they showed up. So those games don't suck. They are pretty good. They are very decent for the emulation on PC, on console. They're great. I love those programs. I have them both on Steam. So again, Phil is not a terrible player at fighting games, but he's not a fantastic player at fighting games. He's average.
Way to play them from what people are saying. So the thing is, I don't know how to set it up. When I first got the mini PC, I installed the application and I ran it, and I was like, how the fuck does this work? It's complicated. There's like, you need to find the ROMs somewhere, and then you need to install an add-on or something, and then you have to configure it, and I don't get it. So this is going to be something that you guys will have to work with me to figure out how to do it, because I don't really understand it. But I feel like this could be something fun that we do, all right, for variety, for several weeks. Like, we could do Friday Night Fights and maybe like one other stream a week of retro fighting games, and we could mix it up. It could be one day I do Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, one day I play Super Turbo, one day I play something different, right? It'll keep it interesting. Because of the variety of stuff that'll be available, I'll be able to mix it up and play various games, and I think that would be pretty neat, actually. Something different, right? And so we could do that. If really Street Fighter 6 is a bust this Friday, we could start doing that as early as later this week. We could try to figure it out. And I work with you guys. If you could help me, if anyone has a suggestion of a guide or something that I could use to set it up easily, I would like to try.
You can use this video, Phil, right? Like, just use this video that I'm going to do here for you. Okay, this is going to show you how to set up and configure Fightcade on the easy. Okay, so let's get started with this. What we're going to do is we're going to search for Fightcade. Right, and I'll have all this linked down for you guys in the video description. So we're going to choose Windows. Don't worry, Phil's going to fuck this up. He's going to choose Mac or Linux or Mac OS or Linux, guaranteed, because he's an idiot. Okay, so it's downloaded there. Now, what we're also going to do is we're going to download what's called the FC JSON ROM. Okay, and that is right here. Now, the FC2 JSON ROM. Make sure you download this. Okay, this is going to make it very easy for you. Okay, last time this was updated was in April of 2023. Excellent. This basically has about 99% of the ROMs that are on Fightcade. So you're going to need to download this. Okay, so we've got these two files downloaded. I'm going to open up my downloads folder, and I'm also just going to copy these out. Put them to the desktop. This is my new internet, right? This is actually the same download I had, but I got another 62 megabits of upload data, so my upload is now 162 megabits. Phil wishes he had this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to install Fightcade first. Okay, now what Fightcade's going to do is it's going to install Fightcade, and it's going to install a couple SDKs, and it's going to do a DirectX 9 install. And you're asking yourself, awesome, Windows 11, you got DirectX 12. DirectX 9 is still required. It does require, like older games, emulation do require DirectX 9 SDK libraries, and it's perfectly fine. I actually do this when I set up a PC. I always install my DirectX prior to installing the graphics drivers. That way, all the DirectX APIs are there prior to the graphics driver going. Okay. And now Fightcade is now installed successfully. Now, before you start Fightcade, bit of this now. We're going to extract the FC JSON ROM. Okay. Now, I use 7-zip, right? Use whatever zip file you want. Just extract it right there. Now, everything that's in this folder here, so you have all these files in the folder. Just going to hit Control A and Control X. I'm going to go to my Documents folder, and now you see the Fightcade. Now, you're going to want to open up Emulator, and this is where you're going to copy all those files. I'm just going to hit Control V. Now all those files are now pasted in. Okay, so now we are good to go. No longer need these two files. Okay, and we're going to open up Fightcade now. Okay, now this is going to ask you for your username. If you don't have one, you have to create an account. I'm just going to the magic of editing. Just going to be right back. Okay, and we are now logged into Fightcade. Now, with Fightcade, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go down to settings, and we're going to change a couple settings here. Now, smoothing and input lag, I like to set mine to 0. Default is automatic. I'm going to set mine to 0. Now, Phil states that there's no ranked play in Fightcade. There actually is. Right here, you can see I have these options. I'm a ranked player, right? You can choose that if you want to be a ranked player. Now, you can do this to prevent low-quality connections, and you can prevent Wi-Fi and VPN challenges. Now, using a VPN while playing the game, yes, you can get a lot of increase in latency, okay, for your ping. You can get roughly almost 20 milliseconds, depending on the quality of the VPN and where you're connecting to. So when I play my games, I always disable my VPN. When I'm not gaming, when I'm doing videos, stuff like that, I don't use my VPN, okay? So, or I should say I do use my VPN when I'm doing stuff like that. Gaming, no, I turn that off so I can get faster connection. Now, with these two options, I'm going to do a video, I think, on Wi-Fi, because I don't believe that Wi-Fi is horrible for gaming anymore. I believe that it is actually very viable, depending on how you have your Wi-Fi set up. I will go over that. I'll show you how to set up your Wi-Fi correctly so that you have a good, steady connection. My Wi-Fi is as good as my wired here in my house, okay? I do have neighbors that do have channel overlap. I make sure that my Wi-Fi channels are separate, so I'm not getting that overlap. I have separate SSIDs for my 2.4, for my 5 gigahertz, and for my 6 gigahertz bands. That way I get a better quality connection. When you have one SSID that combines them all, a lot of your smart devices can then get locked on to, like, say, your 5 gigahertz band, which you don't want to do. Like things like your printer, your home security system, your Nest camera, or whatever, right? You really don't want to have that on your 5 gigahertz band. That should be on your 2.4. No reason for it to be on 5 gigahertz. That's why you should separate your SSIDs. Okay, so now that we have this set up, what we're going to do is we're going to just search for the full screen for this. So this is going to bring up all the games here. You can search for your games up top here and everything, right? You can search by your company, right? Now, this here, Super Street Fighter 2 X Grandmaster, this is pretty much the Super Turbo that Phil likes to play. So we're going to join this, right? Now what it's going to do, now that we've installed that FC-JSON ROM, you see how I brought up that little command prompt window? That is it downloading the ROM for you and setting it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the server. Now we can see all the server here. You can see all these people looking to play. About 30 people in, there's players, 26, there's 166 not available. So there's a lot of people here in chat. Now, this is the downside for Phil. You cannot disable the chat. Okay, so when Phil is playing, or when Phil goes into this game, he is going to have chat up and running unless Phil blacks out the screen again like he did with the Street Fighter 6 beta, right? And this is why I think Phil will not play Fightcade, because he will not be able to stop the trolling, okay? And I hope this doesn't discourage anybody from playing and whatever, right? But unfortunately, this is how Fightcade operates, right? Now, what we're going to do here is I'm just going to set up. So we're going to go to test game. Okay, now what it's going to do is it's going to load everything up. Now, this is where you would set up all your stuff here, right? So what we're going to do is first we're going to go into video. You're going to make sure that enable VSync is turned off. Make sure there's no check mark next to it, okay? Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go run ahead. Now, this is going to depend on your PC. Now, Arturo Sanchez will make up some bullshit lie about how many frames of delay there are. On an actual cabinet, on a super turbo cabinet, there's about 2 to 3 frames of delay. So you're looking at 48 milliseconds of frame delay, okay? Now, you may think that that is a lot. It's not. Look at Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 almost has 5 frames of delay, right? Like if you use Nigel Woodley's input latency test, right? It's like in the high 50s per millisecond. That's regular CRT. On the emulation, it's been clocked at about 2.6 milliseconds. And so far within Fightcade for Street Fighter 2 Turbo, pretty much Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and everything like that. That's how the emulation works. Now, this is set to disabled. Now, you can set it to 1 frame or 2 frame. Now, this is going to be dependent on your CPU. I'm going to choose 2 frames for this. I have a decent CPU. I've got a 13900K, so I'm not really concerned about that. Everything else in here, you can basically leave. Now, if you want to do this here, let's bring up display FPS stats. You can see that this game is, like, the games on Fightcade, they're going to be capped at 60 frames per second, okay? That is how the emulation works, right? These games did not run uncapped even on the cabinets back in the day. So you're looking at 60 milliseconds, or 60 frames per second cap. That means things like high refresh rate monitors, like 360 hertz refresh rate, you're really not going to benefit at all with input latency. Same thing goes for overclocking your polling rate. You're just not going to get any benefit from it because the game itself is hard capped. Okay? Now the next thing we're going to set up is we're going to set up our input. This is very important. If you don't do this, and the problem is you have to do this for every single game, right? It doesn't import for all games. I'm just using my trusty PlayStation 5 controller, greatest controller ever. Buttons here. Punch. What am I using for medium punch? I think it's that. Kick. Kick. And then we're going to save preset. Okay, so now for this game, we won't have to do this ever again, okay? This is now saved in our presets. Not noticing any type of delay whatsoever. I'm not getting any pausing or hitching or anything like that. This is running smooth. So as you can see, it's running excellent, right? Capped at 60 frames per second, so we're not getting anything under. And that's the engine, right? That's how it's going to be. There's nothing to do with that. There is no way to cap it. that's just how easy it is to set up Fightcade right now. In order to play a game, I'm going to set myself to available. So I'm online, right? Looking to play. I'm going to set myself up and looking to play. And then we're going to wait down here. Now, what's going to happen is somebody's going to challenge you, right? Eventually. Now, you can see here on the side, right? These are the people's connections, right? They cannot, people with bad connections, like if you want to set it, again, you can set it here. I don't like to set it. Like, it's not fun to do that. Like, I don't care about settings or anything like that. You can, here we go. And you crashed out. Yay! This is what you get in front of somebody else to challenge you. But that's how easy it is for Fightcade to actually be set up, right? We are now fully set up for Fightcade. We're not having a problem. Well, we did. We had a little bit of a crash there. Yeah, nothing. But that's just the game. And this is what Phil's going to have to go through. This is going to be up to Phil, right? Like, is Phil going to want to do this? I have no idea, right? Is Phil going to want to have chat running? I have no idea, right? We'll get into the lobby system here shortly, because this is where a lot of the problems are arise for Phil. Let's go. You can see how the online plays. I should really pick somebody that has like a really bad fucking. And this is basically how Fightcade works, depending on if you're competing in tournaments and shit. And again, like, you think Phil would put up with this? Like, this is how the system works. Now, I do believe that if Phil does show up, that he's going to have a lot more people to contend with, because a lot of people are going to show up. Okay, so doesn't look like anything's working here. Or people are actually playing right now. These are your playing right now. We can spectate in. Probably just finishing. Imagine people just spectating Phil as this is going on. Like Phil's playing like Justin. Oh, we got an acceptance. Hold on. Shit, did I ever get beat down in line? any type of delay in this action. Good game, bro. Good game. Enjoyable. And that's it. That is Fightcade. That's how Fightcade's going to run for Phil, right? Now let's talk about. We'll bring the music back up here. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. No, I don't mean cat. Now, in order for Phil to do stuff like lobbies and stuff, you actually have to become part of their Patreon community, okay? Now, find it here really. Or become a patron. So these are your tiers, right? So tier 1 fan, you don't need any extra features, but you want to support Fightcade, right? Perfect. Get access to exclusive color themes. Join up for 6 game channels. Currently, when you actually add game channels within Fightcade, you only can add a maximum of 3. Okay, now, hardcore gamer, join up to 12 game channels simultaneously. Limited favorite channel, blah, blah. And you can disable live spectators, right? So Phil's not going to be able to block us from spectating unless he pays $14.50 Canadian a month, whatever that. Disable live spectators, get all previous rewards, get access to color themes, get additional, get options to see elo score in ranked game channels after every match, silver role grouping in our official Discord server. And imagine Phil getting in the Discord server. Ooh, he'd get fucking. Yeah, and you get all the previous rewards. Ability to create private lobbies, very useful for streamers, right? That means Phil's gonna have to spend $28.50 a month to have lobby access. At 142 Canadian a month. I'm too poor. So, again, if Phil wants lobby access, he's going to cough up $28.50 a month Canadian to be able to have lobby access. Phil's not going to do that, okay? Now, this is what I foresee happening for Phil. Pretty much we're going to get into an issue with probably trolling, right? And with Phil's paranoia, Phil's not going to have control over this, okay? It's going to be Phil's stream, yeah, but he's going to be at the mercy of Fightcade itself. And that means Phil's going to have to put up with trolling in chat, right? You're going to get an abundance of people that are going to be challenging him right and left. You're going to have people spectating him like crazy when he plays. So there's going to be a lot of issues, I feel, for Phil trying to do this. I really want to see him do it because I really want to see him get his ass kicked in the games that he thinks he's so good in. We currently get that with Street Fighter 6. Don't believe any of Phil's bullshit on that because it all lies. But this is how easy it is just to set up Fightcade, right? Now again, when you're using Fightcade, I suggest testing it out before you actually get into it. Use the testing system, play some matches prior. Again, when you're in the game, right? Your video settings, make sure enable VSync is disabled. You can have FPS reading. I like to have it up there for my stats and everything, right? So run ahead, again, 1 to 2 frames, right? Or you can have it disabled. I again don't see anything. So as a way. 158 people. That's how much it's already grown. So again, like there's a lot of people playing on this, a lot, because it's free, right? Make sure you set up your input correctly, right? Map your game inputs. My game inputs are now mapped. I don't have to ever change it again. These presets have been saved. Okay, so it's just, again, make sure you're setting everything up correctly. Run ahead, because I have such a good CPU, I can run the 2 frames ahead. I don't have any problems whatsoever with the emulation. Test this before you do it, okay? Now on the mini PC, again, it'll run fine. It doesn't require a lot. And that's basically Fightcade, guys, right? So let's see what happens. Let's see if Phil does it. Again, I do want to make one statement here. If Phil does do this and you go into chat, please do not use any racial slurs, any homophobic slurs, anything like that. Troll Phil, right? Like, troll Phil. Just be cautious about it. Don't do anything that he says that we actually don't do, right? So, please be judgmental when it comes to the point where Phil actually gets this all set up. Again, Phil, I know you're going to watch this video because I'm going to tag you in the video. This is an easy way to set it up for yourself. Bruh, like, good luck. You're going to need it. All right, everybody. We'll see you again in the next one.